Well, hey, everybody. It's Bob Nagan, and welcome to episode number 16 of Coronavirus in the Independent Retailer podcast. Congratulations. We are 3 days farther into this, which means we're 3 days closer to being out the other side together, rocking and rolling and showing everybody why independent retail is where it is at. So we had Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Today is Monday. I don't know about you, but today or this weekend was really kind of the first weekend where I finally felt like things were kind of getting back to normal. We had a great little dinner party on Saturday night. We made some nice food. Many years ago, my brother-in-law gave us a vertical tasting from Ridge Wineries, and there's always been an excuse not to do that tasting. We broke out the bottles and had a great time, blew off some steam. It was wonderful, and I hope that you had an experience like that also this weekend. This morning I worked out for the first time in 3 weeks. So, you can only live, or I can only live in that low-level anxiety so long before I mean, right now I'm at the place where I'm going, okay, enough. It's time to figure this out and to quit making excuses. I'm not beating myself up, but just wanted to share that. Hope that you're feeling that. Before we begin, if you please say hello. Susan's upstairs on the chat. She's actually applying for the PPP, and she's upstairs on the chat. Please tell us who you are and where you're from. We would love to say hello. I would also encourage you to, if there's something that you like, to push the like button or to push the love button. It helps Facebook with his algorithms, and we want to get this out here, this podcast out to as many people as possible. And when you're interacting with this, it helps with the algorithms. And if you're listening to this as a podcast, of course you can't do that, but I hope that you're finding it helpful. So if you are watching this on Facebook, I just want to let you know that you can listen to this as a podcast. And if you go to our binge watching page, whizbangtraining.com/coronavirus, you can find a link to all of your favorite podcast platforms. I would love to see you subscribe. So, moving on to Monday. So the first thing I want to say is I am so incredibly proud of all of you. On Sunday, I did jump on for just a moment and ask for a positive focus, and there was 108 comments. We have never had 108 comments on a Sunday positive focus exercise on our Whizbang Retailers Facebook page. And what I'm seeing is that people are just starting to get back to work. Yes, there's uncertainty. We're going to talk about that today. But everybody is figuring out how to do business right now. People are moving forward. People are getting shit done. People are trying things that they've never tried before. And all of this is going to really, really help you in the long term. I know nobody likes this. I sure as heck don't like this. But nobody likes this, but I was just so pleased and so proud and so grateful for all of those comments and seeing what all of you are doing. So congratulations to all of you. And thank you for your participation too. I really, really appreciate it. So moving on. Let's talk about the PPP, and let's talk about, all of the government programs. I'm talking specifically to those of us in the United States right now, but we have Canadian people in our community in the Platinum Mastermind group. There are many Canadians. Mark from England is in the Platinum Mastermind group, and in our last check-in, he indicated the same frustrations that the Canadians indicated, that the same frustrations that the Americans indicated. So I'm going to speak specifically to those of us in the United States, but I just want you to recognize that I don't care where you are, if your government is trying to help you out, what I'm going to say applies to you too. So the first thing, there's just all this anxiety around what's going on. Everybody's trying to get clarity. We get it. We spent an enormous amount of time last week, or actually Susan spent an enormous amount of time last week trying to get to the bottom of what was really there. And then we thought the application process would be open, but then nobody had applications. And, the thing that I really want to say is, let's just all settle down, people. Let's just all settle down. Yes. We would all like the extra money. We could use the money. But at the end of the day, the government is trying to give away $3 trillion, and they're trying to do it as effectively and efficiently as possible. It is hard to make all of this sort of thing go in a short time frame. So, I would just encourage us to all recognize that, yes, there's due diligence to be done. And yes, you can go on to Whiz Bang Retailers, our community Facebook page, and ask questions. But at the end of the day, patience is a really, really important virtue here. So, and even if you don't get all with the PPP, that entire amount forgiven, it still looks like it's 1% money, and 1% money, you will never find money that cheap again. So, I'm just really encouraging everybody to take a deep breath and move forward. But take a deep breath and, not let this consume you. So I'm looking at my notes here, and it says, and don't let it consume you, because getting stressed about it doesn't solve one problem. It doesn't do one doggone thing. Anxiety is an incredibly unproductive emotion. So you're not solving anything by getting stressed out. You're not solving anything by being anxious. All you're doing is, just chewing yourself up a little bit. But so let's talk about that for a little bit. That's the essential message for today's podcast, is that leadership and personal mastery are so incredibly important when you are in an uncertain time like we are right now. So I'm just going to use the PPP or any form of government assistance as the example, as the thing to think about. So what we're trying to do is to unemotionalize any problem that you have. What we're trying to do is to engage in accurate thinking. So what does that mean in the case of these government programs? It means that you do due diligence. It means that you talk to experts. You participate in the in the updates that we're doing here. You gather information. But the more unemotional you can become about the problem at hand, the more effective you're going to be when you try to solve the problem. To use the analogy of war and leadership, if the general panics when he's under attack, he is sure to lose the battle. Another disclaimer, I am not a military historian here, but isn't it true? The best leaders in times of crisis don't panic. They don't get upset. What do? They take the information in. They process the information in as dispassionate a manner as humanly possible. They think strategically, and they make a decision. Accurate thinking. And one of the things that is going to come out of this pandemic for most of you, especially those of you who are really, really handling this proactively, the 108 comments that I referred to earlier, you are going to be so much more mature as a business person. I have had, literally thousands of conversations with independent retailers, and hundreds of those were what I call talking somebody off the cliff, right? Somebody's in a panic about something. And the thing that I keep coming back to with them in these conversations is, no, this is not terrible. You just need to think it through and act on it correctly. And that's part of maturity. The more mature you become as a business person and as a leader, the less emotional you are about the problem. The problem is the problem. The solution is what is needed. So in the Platinum Mastermind group and with my private clients, we often talk about a data point. And a data point, I call it a data point because it's a moment in time. In that moment in time, the more that you can separate the emotion from that data point, that problem, that opportunity, the better you'll be able to apply accurate strategic thinking to that data point. So right now, I'll just use the example of all of this disaster relief money. It's a data point. Here is where we are right now. You can get emotional around it. You can become frustrated by it. You can become panicked because it's not coming as quickly as you'd like. You can have 1,000 different emotions around it. But here's the important thing, going back to what I talked about earlier. Your emotions around it is not going to solve anything. The thing that is going to move you forward is when you apply accurate thinking. When you gather the facts, apply the facts, and make a decision. So a couple episodes ago in last week's Real Retail TV, I talked about that AAA model. Assess, adjust, advance. And this is so applicable to this conversation. So assessment is about accurate thinking. Here is where we are with disaster relief. Gather information as quickly and accurately and dispassionately from sources you trust, and then make a decision. That's the adjustment. And then finally, you move on. Your bank does not take SBA applications. Great. What do you need to do? You need to find a bank that does take SBA applications. Again, unemotionalize the problem, and the AAA model works so much more efficiently. So this whole part of becoming mature as a business person, becoming mature as a leader, is about unemotionalizing problems, unemotionalizing opportunities. Suss them away and get down to the kernel of truth that exists, and you are going to become a better business person, a better leader, and a better person. I don't know why I leaned into that mic that time, but anyway, so I hope that you found that helpful. And I know that we talked about this in an earlier podcast, and this AAA model is one of our Real Retail TVs. But, just sensing what was going on our Whiz Bang Retailers Facebook group, I just thought I would address it again. Sometimes you need to hear things 2 or 3 or 4 times. And I think I'm going to be coming back to the AAA model again as things progress. But again, I think that we are where we are. And we're all making the best decisions that we can for ourselves. So I hope that you found this helpful. If you are listening to this and you would like to listen to this daily podcast, Coronavirus and the Independent Retailer, as a podcast, again, go to our binge watching page, Coronavirus and the whizbangtrading.com/coronavirus. So I hope that you found this helpful, everybody. We're one day closer. So go out, get them, do the best that you can. Be easy on yourself if you didn't get done what you needed to get done or what you wanted to get done. And remember, we're all in this together. And we're all going to get out of this together. There is another side, and we will all be there together. All right, everybody, I'm Bob Nagan, and we will see you tomorrow morning at 9:30.